Hello and welcome to U.S. History. Uh, to all you, I hope you're staying safe during these strange times, and I hope you're practicing your social distancing and keeping your hands washed. Today we're going to be doing a lesson over new inventions and technology and its cultural impacts at the turn of the century in America. And so, to start off class, we're going to go ahead and read our I can statements. First one is I can identify new technologies and ideas in early 20th century America. And the second I can statement is I can comprehend the impacts of new technologies and ideas on early 20th century American culture. So to start off, we're just going to do a bell ringer. So if you could just get out your notebook. And the bell ringer is during the Second Industrial Revolution in America, also known as the Technological Revolution, droves of people relocated their homes. Where did many people move to during the Technological Revolution and why? And the second question is, what are some new technologies that you still use today that were made possible by the Technological Revolution? So, students would have a few minutes to write these answers down. First, the answer to the first question, we would go over it as a class, is that many people relocated to more urban areas. They moved out of rural areas and into more urban areas because that's where the jobs were. Factories were opening up, and so they just moved into urban areas. The answer to the second question can really be pretty much anything. I mean, there's several things you could name. The telephone, the electric light bulb, pretty much any of those that you still use today, even the automobile. And so once we finish the bell ringer, we're going to go ahead and get ready to take some notes in our notebook. We're going to go ahead and start the PowerPoint. So the first invention that we're going to discuss today is the telephone. It was invented in 1877, and the inventor was Alexander Graham Bell. A description is, well, the telephone. Everybody knows what a telephone is. And the impact it had on American culture is that it allowed businesses to more quickly and efficiently communicate with each other, and it allowed people separated by distance to stay in contact and communicate more frequently instead of writing letters. If you send a letter in the mail to someone, it's going to take several days, maybe even weeks to get there. And when the telephone came around, you can just call someone up and talk to them in real time. So it had some pretty significant impacts on American culture and people's lives. Second invention that we're going to discuss today is the phonograph. It was invented in 1877. It was invented by Thomas Edison, who we're going to talk about quite a bit today. A description of it is a device that allowed for the recording and playing back of sound. So it was basically the first tape recorder. And the impact that it had is that music could now be listened to at home without having a live band there. And also books could be recorded and read so that they could be enjoyed by the blind without the need to use Braille. The next invention is the electric light bulb. It was invented in 1879, and it was also invented by Thomas Edison. And the description is, everyone knows what an electric light bulb is. And the impact it had is that the light bulb allowed for more activity during the night. Things that used to have to be done during the day, such as writing or reading, could now be done at night without the use of a lamp or candle. So, in a smaller room with a lamp or candle, there's going to be soot and smoke, and that's pretty much eliminated with the invention of the light bulb. And city streets could be lit at night, and nightlife in general became more common among Americans. So the next one is the electric trolley. It was perfected in 1877 by a man named Frank Sprague, and the description is an electric streetcar that's used to transport people. Impact. The first successful electric streetcar railway system was implemented in Richmond, Virginia, and replaced horse-drawn carriages for mass transport of people. It could transport more people more quickly than horse-drawn carriages. So basically, more people could get where they were going faster. It's kind of like the first subway, and subways are still used in cities today. They're just underground, but this was basically the first subway, and it reduced the need and the number of horse-drawn carriages that were moving around cities. The next one is the motion picture camera. It was invented in 1891, once again by Thomas Edison. Description is basically it was the first video camera. And an impact, motion picture movies were made possible by this invention. Americans could enjoy watching films with friends at movie theaters because of the motion picture camera. So it's a pretty significant one that's obviously still used today. Everyone loves to go see a movie every once in a while. The next one is the Model T, and this isn't really an invention. There were automobiles before this, but this really perfected the automobile. The year was 1908. It was invented by Henry Ford. Description is it was the first affordable and practical automobile. And an impact is that it allowed more people to afford an automobile, made horses an obsolete form of transport, and people could now travel much farther distances in a much shorter amount of time. So really before this, automobiles were mostly owned by the rich. And the Model T made them attainable by average people. And so really, this is what made owning cars the new normal. Moving assembly line. This is another one where the moving assembly line and assembly lines in general have been around for a long time. Eli Whitney comes to mind. He was very interested in interchangeable parts. And another one that comes to mind is Samuel Colt. His firearms factory, he was envisioning an assembly line where one man did one job and then the next man did another job. But really, it wasn't perfected until 1913 by Henry Ford. And it was basically the use of interchangeable parts, continuous flow, and division of labor in a factory production line. The impact is that it allows factories to turn more product for less cost, and it helps usher in the era of mass production, which we are still in. And so now it's time for the activity. So the activity that we're going to be doing is basically the class will be broken up into predetermined groups of 5. And they will be given construction paper, pencils, markers. And what they have to do is, as a group, they're going to take a piece of construction paper and they're going to be assigned one of the inventions from the PowerPoint. And so on their sheet of paper, they need to put the name of the invention, the year it was invented, the name of who invented it, a description of the invention, and at least 2 ways that it impacted American culture. And so while they're doing that, both teachers are going to be going around from group to group seeing if anybody needs any help. And then once that is wrapped up, students are going to collaborate to put their piece of paper on the wall. And there's going to be a timeline on the wall, and students are going to work together to figure out which one goes where and put them in order on the wall in a collaborative group class timeline that's going to stay up for the rest of the year. And once that's done, we're going to move on to our assessment. And the assessment is just a worksheet, and I messed it up a little bit. There we go. The worksheet, you just need to put your name and the date and answer these questions. Number 1, in what city was the first successful electric trolley? Number 2, in what year was the motion picture camera invented? Number 3, Name 2 inventions from the PowerPoint that you still use today. Number 4, name 3 uses for a phonograph. Number 5, what are 2 cultural impacts that the electric light bulb had? Number 6, use critical thinking to infer one industry that could have been negatively impacted by the electric trolley. Explain how and why this industry would be negatively impacted. Number 7, use critical thinking to infer one industry that could have been negatively impacted by the electric light bulb, and explain how and why this industry would have been negatively impacted. And so students will have up until the last 7 minutes of class to work on this sheet, and the co-teacher and the teacher will be going around seeing if anyone needs help. I'd like to point out that the first 5 questions can be found in the notes, and the last 2 are critical thinking questions where students will be making inferences. So there's not really a right and wrong answer because students are inferring. The information wasn't given to them, they're just inferring what they think. And so once there's only 7 minutes of class left, the teacher will take up these papers, and students will be asked to get out a piece of paper, and we will do an exit slip. The exit slip reads, which invention do you feel had the biggest impact on American culture? Write down the invention, the inventor, the year it was invented, and the impact it had on American culture, and explain why you feel this invention had the biggest impact. So students will have about 6 or 7 minutes to write down the answer to the exit slip, and then they will turn it in on their way out the door. And that will be the end of class. Hope everybody is staying safe out there, and can't wait to see you all next semester.